Good morning, everyone from Melbourne, Australia. So my name is Shirley, and I'm currently a PhD candidate. So my supervisors are Associate Professor Darren Snell, who's actually sitting in the room right now, and Dr. Xue Fan. The title of my presentation is Confronting Workplace Exclusion, the Role of Personal Agency Among Asian Skilled Migrants. Australia, like other nations of immigrants, such as Canada, UK, and US, are experiencing a growing reliance on skilled migrants to fill their skill shortages. While Australia's skilled migration program may be viewed as a success story, and other nations such as UK has sought to replicate Australia's program to maximize the benefit of migration, a recent report shows that 1 in 4 permanent skilled migrants work in a job beneath their skill level. And this skills mismatch is costing Australian economy at least $1.25 billion in foregone wages. Although permanent migration has been a central feature of Australia's economic development over the last century, and with more than 2 million arriving in the last decade, there is insufficient research focus on their experiences of workplace inclusion. With that said, I'm presenting a part of my doctorate research project, which is about investigating workplace inclusion from the perspective of Asian skilled migrants working in Australia. My project seeks to understand how skilled migrants navigate themselves among workplace inclusion and how they're being treated at work in Australia. Workplace inclusion has been studied at the organizational level, where a collective perception of the diversity management initiative is obtained from the employees across the organization. At group level, inclusion is about minorities employees feeling included when they are being regarded as part of the group dynamics by the majority. Whereas at individual level, the employees can feel included when they actually feel belong as insiders while embracing their uniqueness. On the other hand, migration scholars have researched on occupational mobility, social inclusion, life satisfaction, discrimination, and work engagement, except there was not much focus on workplace inclusion of Asian skilled migrants. On top of that, recent news has revealed that Australian government is increasing the intake of migrants to address labor shortages within the country. However, research has shown that skilled migrants often face work discrimination or underemployment challenges, which may indicate that Australia may be facing the issue of foreign talent underutilization. Hence, we ought to consider how we can improve the use of our talent of our skilled migrants. So far, we know that skilled migrants experience multiple challenges such as limited job offers, workplace discrimination, and social exclusion upon settlement. Also, studies have found that migrants are often exploited due to lack of legislation protecting their rights. This is aggravated by their lack of language proficiency. Yet, we don't know how they respond in relation to workplace inclusion or exclusion. No doubt studies have shown that skilled migrants do encounter workplace exclusion, given that an inclusive work environment do enhance their psychological well-being, and organizations are responsible in fostering inclusion through their D&I initiatives. Some researchers suggest that workplace inclusion requires both organization and employees to be mutually responsible for it to work. This leads us to the research question in the next slide. Our research question is, how do skilled migrants navigate inclusion, exclusion in the Australian workplace, with the aim to obtain a more nuanced understanding of how migrants experience inclusion or confront exclusion? I have adopted a phenomenological inquiry as a qualitative research method, since it will allow me to understand and comprehend the intrinsic nature of the lived experiences of inclusion of skilled migrants. In particular, the use of semi-structured interviews allow fresh insights into how migrants perceive workplace inclusion, Finally, a thematic analysis is adopted to identify, analyze, and develop themes from the interview data to extract a detailed explanation about the studied phenomenon with the use of in vivo software. The following slide will describe the research participants in details. I have interviewed 30 participants of different nationalities working in different industries, and it was a good mix between female and male participants. All of them were classified as Asian skilled migrants who originated from non-English speaking backgrounds. In the next few slides, I shall discuss about the findings. During the interviews, the participants shared stories with me about the challenges they faced upon settlement, such as reviewing double standards imposed on them, requiring them to work extra hours. While migrants were able to take initiative to include themselves at work without placing their sole responsibility on their employers, their personal agency was influenced by their individual circumstances and organizational contexts. With that said, many of them believe that perseverance was key in overcoming barriers to entry and inclusion within the Australian workplace. Interestingly, the data also revealed that it was more important for the migrants to utilize their skills than having their cultural backgrounds being recognized and accepted by the organization. As mentioned previously, skilled migrants have taken initiative to include themselves at work. One of the strategies was to acquire new customs, such as adopting the local culture, like giving eye contact, extending handshakes, and knowing the local popular spots so that they could integrate themselves within the workplace. Migrants who shared the second strategies were those who succeeded in securing employment that commensurate their skill set. Not surprisingly, it involved sacrifices on their part where they either had to start from scratch or in spite of their related overseas experience, or put in additional work hours just to prove their competency to their employers. Given that these were migrants who came from non-English speaking background, they realized that they ought to improve their English proficiency level if they were to communicate more efficiently at work. At the same time, the migrants discovered that despite their language deficiency, they had to learn to speak up in order to be heard and understood by their managers and colleagues. The fourth strategy was about forming social networks at their workplace through conducting social activities or having meals together with their local counterparts. Moreover, being new to the roles, some migrants thought that it was to their advantage to seek out mentors who could guide them in their roles with the hope of securing a permanent employment. However, in circumstances where migrants were excluded at work, they might consider the option of what they perceive as downward professional mobility so that they could extend their stay in Australia. Whereas those who were mistreated at work or discriminated due to unfair remuneration or double standards, they might leave the organization once they were able to secure another employment. On the other hand, those who remain with their employers despite experiencing workplace exclusion, they might have a shift of perspective where they manage to convince themselves to stay on in their job. Others who stay in jobs that did not require their skill set or roles that were beneath their skill level reflected on their past regrets, which explained their decision to continue working in their current roles. Such past regret might include not improving their communication skills or not putting in more effort to connect with the locals. As such, our research has the following theoretical implications. First, our project answers the call for more theoretical development in the area of inclusion and related outcomes. Also, we need to think about including the recognition of skill sets to inclusion literature, as part of inclusion should involve the recognition of skills, qualifications, and related experience. In addition, for mutual responsibility to happen, both parties, employers and employees, including potential employees, must be on equal footing. This is because for skilled migrants, one of the many challenges they often face in gaining entry into the industry is that prospective employers have the power to disregard their skills, which then hinder their ability to be included. On this slide, I would like to present the practical implications. Despite having their skills recognized under Migrant Skills Incentive, Australian migrants may still face barriers to entry when employers are reluctant to recognize their skills. Therefore, policymakers may devise policy to pair migrants to employers that require their skill set as a form of addressing skill shortages. As for organizations, they might want to redesign their recruitment mechanism to better recognize skills, migrants' skills and qualifications. As such, it will promote better access into the labor market for the migrants while reducing talent wastage and keeping up with the global competition. Also, organizations can mitigate double standards by making sure that D&I policies do not discriminate any of their employees, including the current pools of foreign talent.
Shirley, 4 minutes, but I assume you're about done, so.
Before I conclude my presentation, I want to leave you with this quote, which left a lasting impression on me during the data collection process. Participant P14 said, "I just migrated, kind of like beggars can't be choosers. I picked anything that came along that can catapult me into another position until it's the place that I'm comfortable with and really utilize my skill set. But it never got to that point until this job, and that took 2 years of rough ride." To conclude this presentation, I wish to thank my supervisors, Darren and Cher, for their guidance, and my research participants who share their stories with me. Lastly, I would like to thank all of you for attending the presentation. Thank you.